Someone takes that and puts it in their own sense, and then they get their whole audience pumped up for their team to play.
Metallica, the mighty lords of thrash, have built their legacy on high-octane performances, historic tours, and a no-nonsense attitude. But behind the roaring riffs and sold-out arenas, there's another story, the bands they said no to. Not every collaboration made it past the planning stages. From beefs and backstage drama to musical mismatches and bruised egos, here are 10 iconic bands Metallica refused to tour with, and the real stories behind those refusals. Welcome to Rock Fame Diaries. Hit that like button and let's dive deep into the untold backstage politics of one of the greatest metal bands in history.
1. Guns N' Roses, the tour that ended in flames. In 1992, Metallica embarked on a massive stadium tour with Guns N' Roses. At first, it was every rock fan's dream, but it quickly turned into a nightmare. James Hetfield suffered severe burns during a pyrotechnic mishap in Montreal. Axl Rose then made everything worse by walking off stage early, sparking a riot. Lars Ulrich later admitted, "We won't do that again, ever." The chemistry just wasn't there. Metallica thrives on precision and power. Guns N' Roses were pure chaos. One tour was enough, for a lifetime. 2. Megadeth, brotherhood broken beyond repair. Dave Mustaine was once part of Metallica, until he was fired in 1983 for alcohol-fueled behavior. He formed Megadeth with a burning grudge. Over the years, fans begged for a tour, two giants of thrash reuniting. But Metallica declined. Despite brief reconciliation during the Big Four concerts, a full tour never materialized. Mustaine stated, "They don't want to do it. I've made peace with it." For Metallica, the old wounds may still be too raw. Some riffs never fade, especially the personal ones. 3. Linkin Park, Two Worlds, One Divide. In the early 2000s, Linkin Park were the kings of nu metal, dominating charts with melodic hooks and emotional depth. Their label allegedly floated the idea of a joint tour, but Metallica passed. Why? Stylistically, the two bands were worlds apart. Linkin Park represented a younger, more tech-driven wave, while Metallica's roots were grounded in analog aggression and thrash. Insiders claimed Metallica didn't want to be pushed into a genre box. They respected Linkin Park, especially Chester's vocals, but touring together, not on their playlist. 4. Creed, Too Clean, Too Corporate. In the late 90s, Creed exploded in popularity. Their post-grunge, radio-friendly sound drew huge crowds, and they even opened for bands like Sevendust and Fuel. But when discussions of opening for Metallica came up, rumors say James and Lars weren't interested. Why? Creed's clean image, overt spirituality, and polished stadium rock clashed with Metallica's gritty, darker aesthetic. A former road manager said, "It wasn't personal, it just didn't fit the brand." For Metallica, authenticity is everything. Creed just felt too safe. 5. The Offspring, When Humility Stops a Tour. Sometimes, it's not about rejection, but self-doubt. In the mid-90s, Metallica invited the Offspring to tour. The band, riding high after Smash, declined. Guitarist Noodles later said, "We didn't think we were good enough yet." Ironically, Metallica saw potential and thought Offspring would add energy to the bill. But Offspring's humility, mixed with nervousness about stadium shows, caused them to back out. Metallica never asked again. 6. Kiss, When Legends Clash. Two colossal bands. Two monster egos. No tour. In interviews, both Gene Simmons and Lars Ulrich have danced around the idea of touring together. But it never happened, and likely never will. Why? Kiss demands total control over their stage setup. Metallica does too. Combine that with conflicting fanbases, competing pyrotechnics, and a shared reluctance to play second fiddle. You get a recipe for disaster. Lars once joked, "We don't share flames well." They may share respect, but not the stage. 7. Limp Bizkit, oil and water don't mix. In the height of the nu metal explosion, Limp Bizkit was everywhere. But Metallica had no intention of touring with them. Fred Durst's antics and party boy persona didn't sit well with the Metallica camp. Even musically, the rap-rock fusion of Limp Bizkit felt like an entirely different universe. Hetfield reportedly said backstage, "They're not our kind of heavy." Limp Bizkit might have brought ticket sales, but Metallica didn't want the association. It was a hard no. 8. Slipknot, Masked Madness vs. Metal Titans. On paper, Slipknot and Metallica seem like a perfect storm. Aggressive, powerful, theatrical. But behind the scenes, complicated. When Slipknot exploded with Iowa, fans begged for a joint tour, but Metallica quietly declined. Why? Some say it was about production conflicts. Both bands had massive stage setups. Others believe Metallica didn't want to be out-energized by the 9-man chaos Slipknot brought. Corey Taylor later said, "We love them. I think we just scare them a little." There's mutual respect, but no shared spotlight. 9. Nickelback, the reputation gap. Nickelback is one of the most commercially successful bands of the 2000s, and also one of the most mocked. That's exactly why Metallica wanted no part of a co-headline tour. Chad Kroeger joked, "We're the band people love to hate." Metallica, fiercely protective of their legacy, didn't want their name on the same poster. It wasn't about talent, it was about branding. A Metallica representative once said, "We're not interested in memes. We're interested in music."
Ouch. 10. Korn, the culture divide. By the late 90s and early 2000s, Korn had defined an entire generation of fans who wore black hoodies, headbanged to downtuned guitars, and screamed into the void of teenage angst. Their albums Follow the Leader and Issues sold millions and brought nu metal from underground to mainstream.
Meanwhile, Metallica was transitioning from the thrash titans of the 80s to the hard rock giants experimenting with identity on albums like Load, Reload, and eventually Saint Anger. So why didn't these two titans of heavy music tour together? Behind the scenes, there were talks. Promoters flirted with the idea of bringing Korn and Metallica on a shared bill. But Metallica reportedly rejected the proposal. While both bands were heavy in their own ways, Metallica saw nu metal as part of a different musical ecosystem, one they didn't quite belong to, or fully respect. There was also a subtle issue of audience mismatch. Korn's fanbase leaned heavily into emotional vulnerability and experimental textures, while Metallica's fans expected raw power, technical solos, and grit. The bands may have shared space on rock radio, but their attitudes toward metal were completely different. Jonathan Davis once mentioned in an interview, "We wanted it to happen, but Metallica were doing their own thing." And let's not forget, Metallica wasn't fond of sharing top billing. Korn, during their peak, could easily headline major festivals, but not above Metallica. That subtle power dynamic may have been the final nail. There was never bad blood, just different visions, different fans, different eras. They were neighbors on the metal block, but never roommates on the road. What do all these bands have in common? They're legends in their own right. But in Metallica's universe, not everyone makes the cut. Whether it's about sound, legacy, or chaos control, some tours are better left to the imagination. Thanks for watching Rock Fame Diaries. Don't forget to like, comment which tour you wish had happened, and subscribe for more wild tales from rock history. I'm your host, signing off. See you in the pit. Rock Fame Diaries, where legends live loud. God bless.